He's gonna say some things. Cafes and flares. He's gonna say some things. Cafes and flares. You may not agree. Cafes and flares. He's still gonna say those things. Cafes and flares. Cafes and flares. Thasso's talk Cyprus football. Woo!
I am an angry boy right now. People who watched this week's This Is Mappa will attest to that. I'm not a very happy boy. So big news for today is that Sofronis Avgousti is now the new head coach of Apollon, which means he's putting the national team in the bin. Like he's scrunched it up. He scrunched it. He scrunched it up like this set of headphones, and he's put it in the bin. Okay, it's good. But yeah, it also means that Avgousti is going to be on his third job since the start of the season. His last job as well, remember, he said it was a dream to manage the national team. So obviously he's going to go ahead and say, it's a dream to be back at Apollon. Anyway, so there's a lot of stuff involved in the rehiring of Sofronis for Apollon as well as Sofronis, because Apollon has been a circus since they actually won the league. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But yeah, for some reason as well, Karnodisa is in this story a lot. Anyway, firstly though, as always, before I get started properly on things, I have to tell you to hit that like button, hit the subscribe bell, comment, discourse, engagement. Wow, do all the things. Now, when Sofroni was rehired at Garmiotis at the beginning of the season, I thought, I'm going to write an interesting little article about all the people who have had more jobs in the Brodaski than Sofroni. However, what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to talk about Sofroni's history as a player and a coach for people who don't necessarily know who Gatto is. So first of all, Sofroni is called Gatto, the cat, because of his cat-like reflexes when he was playing in goal for a bunch of teams, including AEK, Apoel, and Ari. However, he spent most of his time and his most successful time at Apollon. He spent 12 years there in the end. As a player, he won the Cypriot League once in 2005 and 6, and the Cypriot Cup twice in 2000, 2001, and 2012, 13. There you go. And they were all with Apollon. Now, he also played 11 times for Cyprus. He was stuck as an understudy to the far superior Antonis Georgalidis. But anyway, I really need to not be personal. I need to be not personal. Let's try. Right. So prior to his full retirement as a player, Avgousti started his coaching badges while he was sat on the bench as a second choice goalkeeper at Apollon. When he retired in July 2013 at Apollon, he was given the Assman job. Nice. Assistant manager, which he sat in for 2.5 years. In that time, he was assistant coach for Christakis Christoforou, Ioan Andone, Ton Cannon, and Pedro Manuel. On December 11th, 2016, he took over Apollon following Emmanuel coaching 3 1-all draws in a row with the team in 4th. So Pedro Emmanuel gets launched out of a window, as you do. In his first season at Apollon, Sofronis Avgousti managed to get Apollon into 3rd place and won Apollon their last Cypriot Cup. In his second season, he managed to get Apollon into the Europa League group stage, where they drew 3 times and lost 3 times. They also finished 2nd in the league and lost in the final of the Cypriot Cup against AEK. In his third season, the club finished 3rd in the league and got knocked out of the cup in the semi-finals by AEL. In the Europa League, he managed to get the team into the group stages again, and this time they won twice and drew once in the 6 group matches. So the people at the top of Apollon, we're going to talk about the people at the top of Apollon as well. Don't worry, we're going to get there. Saw the slide in the team's league and cup finishing and decided to get rid of Avgousti on August 30th, 2019. They brought in a new coach called Ivan Vukomanovic, who lasted all of 4 games. And then, the hierarchy realized they made a big mistake and rehired Sofroni on October the 4th, 2019. The season was stopped because of the COVID pandemic. However, the team had finished what ended up being the league in 4th place. The next season had lasted until the 10th match day, where his team lost to Garmiodissa. Mention of Garmiodissa this early. I know they're there. He was jobless on the 12th of November. He was out of a job for 12 days, 12 whole days. His next stop was AEK. The previous coach was sacked for losing to Apollon, and AEK had dropped down to 6th position. Sofronis lasted until April 20th of the same season after they lost to Olympiacos in the championship playoff with the team in 5th.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
But he wasn't out of work for long. He got picked up by Apollon in the second game of the 2021-22 season on the 30th of August, and that was because Bursaididis was sacked after a 4-0 loss to Olympiacos. Apollon finished the season 3rd and got to the quarterfinals of the Cypriot Cup. He was then sacked after the 5th game of the 22-23 season after failing to get into the Europa League Conference League group stages and had only won 2 of the first 5 league games. So, it doesn't get very far in the 22-23 season. However, he was only out of work for 10 weeks, where he gets the job at Garmiodissa. Garmiodissa he manages 2 wins and 2 draws from 8 games before being picked up by Omonia. At Omonia, he has a Cyprus Cup win, finished 6th in the league. The season after, the club didn't qualify for the group stages in Europe, and with the club sat in 4th after a disappointing showing versus Aris, Avgousti was shown the door on January the 8th, 2024. You guys, a lot of you guys will already know this, especially because a lot of you were very disappointed in his sacking that January as well. Anyway, at the beginning of this season, he was picked up again by Garmiodissa, who he decided to put in the bin after the Cyprus national team job became available. Sofroni has been putting a lot of teams in the bin. Anyway, he's done that twice to Garmiodissa now. He was there in charge at Garmiodissa for 8 games. Omonia came calling and he went, okay, bye. And he did it again to them when the Cyprus national team came calling. However, now he's a Apollon manager after doing what he did to Garmiodissa twice. He did it to the Cyprus national team as well. Now he's at Apollon.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Now, on Apollon's side, since Apollon sacked Sofroni the second time, they've won the league once, and that's pretty much it, really. And not only that, they fired the 2021-22 league-winning manager Alex Zorniger out of a cannon not very long after he'd won the league title because of a disastrous start to the European qualification campaign, where it's basically one game they lost 4-0 to Maccabi Haifa in Israel. Now, when the questions arose as to why they sacked this league-winning coach so quickly, Grizzi stated that there was 3 reasons. One, Zorniger informed the board of the condition of the players, saying that the players were not fit enough to start the season, but he only informed them of that after the 4-0 loss to Haifa. 2, Gizis did not find it acceptable that Zorniger, in his press conference after the Haifa game, said teams in Cyprus are 40 years behind teams like Haifa with respect to facilities, training concepts, and ideologies. And 3, Zorniger had fallen out with many people in Colossi, possibly meaning the support staff and others surrounding the club. There's some more stuff later on that about others surrounding the club. But anyway, so they fired their league-winning coach because of reasons. So instead, they bring in David Catala, who had a pretty good season at Ajax the season before. Basically, it was to steady the ship. So part of what I'm going to talk about now is informed by Catala's assistant, who we interviewed on This Is Mappa very early on in what me and Stel were doing. And he basically explained that Zorniger's issues with the fitness of the team were correct, and the coaching team were unable to do a lot of conditioning work for the players, since most weeks they were playing twice a week due to the league and European competition obligations. Another thing that proved Zorniger's issues regarding that whole 40 years behind thing is that Apollon drew in Europe to the mighty giants that are Liechtenstein's FC Vaduz. Now, with the European group stages out of the way by November, Catalani's team thought they would finally be able to sort out the team's fitness. Instead, a draw to Garmiodissa was the end of him at Apollon. There they are again. Garmiodissa have appeared again. So they ended up losing Sofronis his job. They ended up losing Catala his job. Now, Konstantinos Makridis was brought in to replace Catala as on an interim basis to start off with. However, he did well enough for the board of directors at Apollon to keep him on permanently, in inverted commas, because who the hell stays permanently in Cyprus? Anyway, that ended up being an unmitigated disaster to the point where Makridis was gone after 93 days, and a 4-3 home loss to Garmiodissa, where what could only be described as a PR shit show happened afterwards. So, firstly, the game. I've probably got the highlights playing over me so I can make all kinds of movements while I'm doing this. Anyway, with Apollon winning the game 3-1, Bitas scored just after half time. So that's 3-1. The collapse led to Armageddon in the stands, with all kinds of projectiles raining down from the stands, seats, glasses, toilet roll, anything the fans could get a hold of. El Alucci scored 2 penalties, and after the second one, which was the equaliser, El Alucci goaded the fans. He said himself during his interview with Stella on This Is Mappa that he regretted the celebration, but you can see in the highlights, I'm not sure where we are in the highlights while this is playing, but you'll be able to see it in the highlights. The home fans are throwing things at him as he's trying to take the penalty in the first place as well. Then in the 86th minute, while Apollon have thrown everyone forward to get a winner, Danzel Gravenberch, my mighty beefcake from Suriname, gets the ball, overspeeds and overpowers the Apollon defense and slides the ball into the net. Celebrations on Garmodisa's side ensue. However, everybody lost their minds at Apollon, from the fans, the players, the coaches, the board of directors. They all lost it. So, Magridis resigned from his role as a head coach during the post-match press conference, and further said that the club's fans calling for the president, Nicolas Grisis, for him to go are unreasonable, and that he's a good man, and that Grisis is Magridis' Gumbaro, and that he cares for the club. Very late that night or very early on the next morning, it depends how you want to view it. Either way, before the sun rose on the next day, Grisis and the board announced their resignation for the end of the season, and that they hired external consultants to bring in a new investor in the club. In the meantime, they brought in Bogdan Andone, not related to that Ioan Andone I mentioned above previously. I tried to see if there was a connection between the two. There isn't. However, Bogdan Andone's son ended up signing for Abea Agrodiri when Bogdan Andone ended up joining Apollon. Just there's that thing. It's just that thing. Nothing else. There's nothing else to talk about there. That's just a weird coincidence. Anyway, Andone finished the season with the club and managed to get the players he had in the roster performing well, including, my notes say, someone called Amar Varda. No, 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 no. In the close season, they got rid of Bittas, who went to AEK, Jovanovic to Partizan, Va to Djurgården, Stel, DJU Garden. Anyway, Varda to no, and Varda ended up doing, his tour of the Mediterranean, I guess you could call it. Yeah, tour of the Mediterranean in the Middle East. Robert went to AEK. They basically ended up clearing 23 players from the roster and brought in 18 others, including Mathieu Valbuena. Mathieu Valbuena. He is him. Anyway, the start to the 23-24 season with Andone lasted 2 games before they binned him and moved on to Vladan Milojevic. Milojevic goes 6 games without losing, and in fact he only drew 1 of those games. So 5 wins and a draw in his first 6 games, and then he goes on a 4-game losing run before drawing to Aachen. He then packs his own bags at the beginning of December and heads off to Red Star Belgrade. Then Apollon wait until Boxing Day to announce his replacement in Pablo Machin. Season was already a disaster before Machin took over, so they gave him the explicit goal of winning the Cypriot Cup, and he got them to the semi-finals. And something strange was going on at the club, because he decided to rest Valbuena in the first leg of that cup semi-final against Bafo. Bafo ended up winning the game 2-1, if I remember correctly. And he starts Valbuena against Nea Salamina, which means absolutely nothing. The Nea Salamina game meant nothing for the team. The whole point was, because they'd already made it into Group B, and they weren't going to get relegated. They needed the best players fit for the semi-final, and Pablo Machin took that as not playing Mathieu Valbuena. Anyway, Valbuena gets injured in the Nea Salamina game and therefore cannot play in the second leg of that semi-final. So Apollon end up drawing that game, Tankovic scoring that shot from miles out, and it goes and goes in. Fantastic goal. But either way, a 1-1 draw against Bafor means Bafor go to the Cyprus Cup final, and obviously Bafor win it. And now look at Bafor. Imagine if that was the other way around. Imagine if that was the other way around. What kind of stuff, what kind of things would be happening? Anyway, end of the season, Pablo Machin gets launched because he didn't win the cup, and Valbuena leaves the club. As Valbuena leaves Cyprus, he gives a statement imploring the club to look for stability, and that with stability, that success will come back to the club. So in response, Apollon release 24 players and bring 14 in. So they bring in Adrian Gula at the start of the season, a manager who is well known for building a project, like spending multiple seasons at his previous clubs, and then he gets launched out of a window following that 1-0 loss versus Nea Salamina. Now, before that loss versus Nea Salamina, there was also a 0-0 draw against Achna in the cup, which Apollon won on penalties. Now, the Apollon fans went crazy, like they do, like they did against Carmodissa. They broke into the VIP area of the Alfamera and threatened and put the fear in the family of families of Apollon players, which has led to, according to Gergida, 3 players handed in transfer requests at Apollon. Now, the club is also going to have to play a game behind closed doors because of what happened. And, they've lost 3 players out of it. Anyway, as always, as soon as the fans start kicking off about something, who pays the price but the manager? So Gula goes. Little side note as well is Apollon have drawn with Ethniko Achna every single game that they've played against them competitively since Achna got promoted last. Every single game has been a draw. Anyway, so I mentioned earlier that Apollon announced a full resignation at the end of the 22-23 season following the team's collapse versus Karmiotissa. They also announced that they hired external international consultants to bring in a new investor to replace the president of the club. Except every time there's an except. As the season went on and the performances of the team improved, the fan backlash died down, and slowly, rumors. I'm putting this in inverted commas as hard as I can, so you can hear it if you're only listening to me say this stuff and not watching me. Coming out of the club, said that they were not able to find anyone interested to take over the club. Because why would anyone in their right mind want to take over a club with a relatively healthy balance sheet, large fan base, a history of winning and European competition representation, and a brand new stadium that they don't even have to pay for, except obviously there's a rental charge. So despite the diligent and thorough search for a new investor, the club announced at the end of the season that they will hold elections for certain members of the board, but the decision makers, like the current president, Girizis, would stay because there was no interest in the club. So obviously now that fans have started to come after Girizis again, as if by pure magic, he announces the return of one of the most popular players and managers in their history. Yeah, look, distraction. Here's a distraction. Yeah, I am distracting. I'm going to stay, so here's a distraction. So, now, there's a cloud hovering above the club, as some people internationally have been asking questions regarding the high turnover, even for Cyprus, of playing and coaching staff. A lot of people looking in claim that the amount of transfers occurring at the club have got to do with paying of agent and intermediary fees, and some like, it's all right, I'll scratch my back, you scratch yours. Now, I'm going to leave that for others to delve into further, because I've been talking for a long time. And I'm not saying it's necessarily the truth, but also this is Cyprus, and this is Mappa. So, the mismanagement of the club, though, isn't all down to Kyrgyz. And the fans are also looking at current sporting director Magis Babayouano for the poor recruitment policy. Now, this is why I think there's some strange handshake stuff going on as well, because I don't think Babayouano is as involved with a lot of these signings as people think, because it doesn't look like his MO from when he was doing the same job at Nea Salamina. I mean, obviously he's brought in Diego Dorregaray, but a lot of the signings that the club has made don't have they don't have I don't think they have Babayouano's signature on. At least not as a signing that he's made by himself. Let's just say that. And anyway, I think there's something else going on. I just don't know what it is yet. Somebody's probably going to lift that blanket up and look underneath and be horrified, say something about it, and then everybody's going to completely ignore it and go back to normal. Now, even with the announcement of Sofronis as head coach, the comments from Apollon fans, I've been looking on the Instagram, still split, with a lot still saying that the board of directors need kicking out. So, will bringing in Avgousti actually stop the rot at Apollon, or will he be gone by February? My personal opinion, they deserve each other and whatever the future holds for them, especially if it's bad. Now, who wants to bring back Bambo? Bamboleo, Bambolea. Anyway, I'll probably write something up about who we think should be replacing Sofroni as head coach at the national team. But in the meantime, do the follow things. I've probably put a load of stuff here that you can see on screen, but you'll have on screen there popping up at This Is Mappa on Instagram and X, formerly known as Twitter. You'll see at Flares Kafes or at Kafes Flares, depending on whether you look on Instagram, Twitter, currently known as X, or Blue Sky. Remember, we've got at NC Network on all these places, but it's nc._network. Remember, Stel does a whole thing on Patreon. If you pay €3 a month, you get additional content, which has pre and post match analysis on Omonia games, and also early access to interviews with ex-players and managers, and a whole lot of other things. Keep your eyes peeled. Gameda Pirilla. Pirilla. Okay. All right. Bye. Oh, you're still here. All right. You can have it one time, and enjoy it.
Dibi 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 die, dibi die, dibi 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 die, dibi die. Dibi 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 die, dibi die, dibi die, dibi 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 die, dibi die. Die.